when we left yesterday, TJ, you left the studio saying that you were not going to watch the ManningCast version of Monday Night Football, correct? And the reason why is...
First of all, I'm a huge ManningCast fan.
No, I know that.
And
I
love it.
This is your team last
This
night.
is my team, so I found myself the first 2 weeks really paying more attention to the Mannings than I did the game.
Right.
So yesterday, I really wanted to watch the game. So I should have recorded them and watched it later, but I didn't.
I totally understand why, again, like I mentioned the day after their first broadcast, Eli and Peyton on ESPN2 doing their thing, that for a traditionalist like me, I need down distance. I need to lock in on the game. I need to focus on the game. And if somebody's talking over the game and they're not calling what they're seeing and they're not paying attention or something's happening and they're talking, it would be distracting to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of old school like that. But I turned on ESPN2 2 Mondays ago now for the ManningCast, and it is, like I said, it was spectacular. And I'm now, as a 52-year-old who wants to see down and distance and be locked in on all that, I'm getting used to it. And it's getting better. It's no shock that Eli and Peyton, when they put their mind to something and have a crew that knows how to produce them, that it's going to get better, but it's gotten better. Now, there are times when they're talking over the action or they have a guest on, like Stafford was on last night, and Peyton asked a question of Stafford when Dak snapped it on the 1/2 yard line. And I think they were Stafford was answering as the ball was in the air and it wound up in Fletcher Cox's hands.
Okay. But that was such a weird fluke play. Obviously, you're not expecting that.
I know that. What I'm saying, for a traditionalist, though, it'll be something like...
Oh, right, of course.
But Peyton stopped. I think the answer to just talk about what happened. And then whatever they're talking about, whatever they're focusing on the game, like when Fletcher Cox went down, when Dak and the offense was humming, and he went down on the ground, and they were giving him liquids because I guess he cramped up sitting on the ground. And Eli and Peyton were talking about how this might be one of those instances where somebody on the defense, because the offense is going too fast because the quarterback's so locked in, that maybe he's just sitting on the turf to get a break. And that's when Peyton said he would go up to the official and say, this guy's got to sit out at least 5 plays, okay? He's got to sit out at least 5 plays because he can't just come running back in the game after all this going. And that's part of the beauty of the ManningCast, because and in terms of them getting better, they then rolled back a replay of what Fletcher Cox was throwing down.
Yep. Gatorade and
something. It looked like a 5-hour energy drink
like
bottle.
Yeah, and there was also another moment, same thing, Rich, where the guy was like rubbing the dude's belly, and then they re-showed the clip. They talked about it. They had a bunch of funny jokes, and it was a great moment.
And that kind of didn't happen in week 1. They were just using whatever feed was going on the big ESPN.
Yep.
For now, they're beginning to roll back stuff from the game
specific for them,
to what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
They're also better at telling you who's on the show coming up.
Yep. And
they're also it's really well produced.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, can you put up the photograph of who's on? Does this look familiar to you?
Yep.
Saturday
Night Live.
Wow. That's so smart.
Okay. And it's also the way that they're just scrawling it down on a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. It lends to the fact of, hey, traditionalists, this is not your traditional it's not like some slick graphic board who's coming up. It's guest 1, guest 2, guest 3. They're not telling you when they're calling in either, because I think they're just ready when it is.
Yeah. And also, after the guest appeared, they'd re-pop it up with a check mark next to the guy who was just there.
You know what I mean? It's so they're and to put the Saturday Night Live thing to it as well, you're seeing what is very successful in television. When SportsCenter, because I got there in '96, what I was told by those who had been at ESPN for, the early 90s to the point where I showed up when it clicked for ESPN that it was working, and I felt the same thing for NFL Network when it was working, is that it became aspirational for the athletes to appear on the network. When athletes showed up on the SportsCenter commercials or wanted to be on SportsCenter, wanted their highlights to be on SportsCenter, on NFL Network, when athletes wanted to not only appear on NFL Network, but then work for NFL Network. That's when it began to work. I mean, you're seeing already, if you're appearing on this show, like there's a certain guest quality and
it's
caliber
A+
and personality. And now if your tweet is shown, it's big for whoever's tweeting it out. Mm-hmm. It's working, and it's getting better, and it's getting a bigger audience. And it's also, Coop, my 10-year-old, he comes in, he goes, Dad, are you watching the Mannings again? Are you going to watch the Mannings again? Is what he said before we started. And I said to him, which one do you want to watch? He chose the ManningCast because he digs the Eli getting up and doing the Dak shake.
Yeah, doing the weird stuff.
He digged it. He liked it. Now, it was great that he was out of the room when Eli flipped the double bird at the screen later on.
Talking about 9-year-olds.
Saying that they're going to cut this out. They'll blur it out, forgetting he's on live television.
You can blur that out.
But don't worry, we've got your back, Eli. We've got your back. We've got you covered, literally. Well done, TJ.
Thank you.
And so there's moments where you don't know when something's going to happen. And then Archie Manning shows up because the studio they set up for Eli is in his basement where he's got his golf simulator and
his
everything.
man cave.
So you're seeing how Eli lives. Like they got everything going on. Like you don't know who's going to show up. And then it's not just the brothers busting each other's stones or the X's and O's, the Peyton clicker, the Eli clicker.
I love it.
And hey, here's a 2 deep safety. Here's that. It's when and this is when your traditionalist sensibility, TJ, and wanting to lock in is what makes the ManningCast so terrific. When they lock in play by play, when they sit there and they break it down and they take it from their point of view, they put you in their shoes. As a quarterback, they compartmentalize everything. They compartmentalize what they're seeing on defense from snap to snap. That's always this snap. All right, you got to live for another day, or you got to read the defense properly, or you got to have the help of your offensive line, or the help of your linebacker, of your receivers, or the help of your coach. If it does not result in good football, Peyton Manning's obvious disgust
he's so mad.
is remarkable.
He's so mad.
Every Packer fan, when he was barking at Mike McCarthy to call a timeout towards the end of the first half, because 20-7 could be 23-7. It could be 27-7.
Yeah.
Certainly if you've got a quarterback like Peyton Manning or Eli Manning or Dak, you got to put your trust in him. Call the timeout. He trended immediately from Packers fans being upset and Cowboys fans going, what's happening? His disgust at bad football is great. And then they're both, Eli and Peyton, rooting for good quarterbacking on both
sides. Yeah.
teams. And they're thrilled when they see it, and they're disappointed when they don't. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a quarterback views it, compartmentalized. Next snap, down and down. Let's go. And it's tough to call a football game like that, but it's easy to sit with 2 Hall of Famers breaking it down like that.
You just feel like you're part of the broadcast, and you feel like you're on the couch with them.
It's getting better.
It's getting really good. I can't wait to see the ratings because they were up 150% from week 1 to week 2. So
right, I'm telling you, it was really enjoyable. And then it's only 10 weeks. Now I'm beginning to feel like I'm spending Mondays with the Mannings. And if they don't do it one week, it'll be like
I'm going to be bummed.
Where are they?
Yeah. I'm going to be real bummed.
And also, since you guys didn't watch the traditional broadcast, you missed Steve Levy say this line where he talked about Jalen Hurts, how his jersey sales have gone up 500%. Right. And he goes, and that's more than Eli and Peyton's ratings after
week 1. That one. Oh, big bag of leaves. Oh, boy, a little rivalry. Never heard of it. There we go. That's Eli's response. There we go. Very well done. Hour 2 coming up here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed it. Like I said, I've loved it. I've loved the first week, but I was late. I got home an hour after the game started, and I'd recorded it from my phone. So
Yeah, I mean-
I just watched the one I had going on. I stayed off of social media so I wouldn't.
TJ, I totally understand, though. You're like, this is my team. I've got to know, what they're thinking, what this is. But you are getting what your team is looking at scheme-wise. What you're not getting from this telecast is a snap-to-snap. Here's the fades back to pass, looking for the throw, incomplete. And then getting the analysis from, and I love Louis Riddick
of
and
course.
Brian Greasy.
And they did a great job, by the way.
Exactly. So, but that's not what you're getting you're on occasion you'll get just like, and Peyton just go, well, and just shaking his head.
Why are you making that throw?
And then they'll
Like, come
describe
on.
why they're shaking their head, and they'll talk about it. And then, Peyton will go like with his, he'll scratch the back of his head, which is one of his notes from his mom or whoever. Stop doing that. Yeah. And then he'll occasionally just get so angry and upset. He'll just like go like this. And then last night he showed out he was pitting.
Yeah.
And Eli was calling him out for pitting in his shirt.
Yep. It was great. It's awesome.
And also, Eli did something, I think it was week 2, something that I know just drives me crazy. A ball clearly hit the ground. It was a pass. Defender picked it up and ran like 60 yards.
Yeah.
And Eli's like, why is he doing that? He's like, he knows it wasn't a pick. He knows the play's dead. And yet he wastes all that energy to run down there. Now he's going to come back. He goes, why even do that? Just don't even do that. Right. And I was like, I've thought that so many times.
Yeah, and then for me, I don't need the play-by-play. So I really am interested in the how and the why, and from those guys' perspective. So that's why I love the ManningCast so much. It's just such a fun watch, and the brothers, the busting chops. You feel like you're in the locker room. It's
like
just
you're watching with friends.
It's getting better every week, like you said, Rich.
Right, and Gronk saying that he didn't watch film last week, and he said he needed a press conference to do
and
it.
That's what they were like. And
out.
then before Stafford came on, they're like, "Man, let's see if we can get Matt Stafford to have to call a press conference on Tuesday or Wednesday." Like, it's so funny.
Just know I will be back with the Mannings next week
like
as
LeBron
the Raiders take the
murdered
Chargers.
his high school quarterback last night. It was so funny.
Right, and then. If Arch Manning shows up in a Crimson Tide uniform one day, we'll roll tape of Nick saying, well, you come to, you want to play around a bunch of talented players. Well, where would that be at the collegiate level,
hey,
Nick?
Wait, you got any ideas?
Is that tampering?
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.